Okay, so today I wanted to do a quick video on how to tie up Yarnies for Steelhead because these are something that a lot of people don't do anymore because they think it's, oh, that's an old technique. Why would a Steelhead want to bite that, you know? Oh, or some people will say, oh, it's flossing. I'm gonna, fish a bobber and bead if I can. I'm gonna do something different. Um, so, but I have so much luck with little things like this, okay? So here's what you do at home before you get out onto the river, and how can I go out and prepare before I go fishing so that I can have as much luck as possible, right? So first thing we're going to start with, two basic principles. When I'm drift fishing, it all depends on where I'm fishing. If I'm fishing on a big river, I'm gonna probably want to use a slightly longer leader if I'm fishing more runs, and stuff like that, because that's gonna give me, because I can get away with it. But if I'm in a smaller river, or even a creek, do not be afraid. I mean, in fact, this is really good practice to fish a short leader, because a lot of those fish in small rivers, they don't have a lot of places to go, so they're going to be right on the bottom. And they might only be an inch or two off the bottom. They're just tucked in there. And when the fish are really active, they'll be kind of off the bottom a little bit more. But I've spent the whole past year spotting steelhead in small rivers. And one thing I've come to notice is that these fish, when they're active, they'll be a little bit suspended. But for the most part, they're on the bottom. So when I tie my leaders for small rivers, okay, I'm gonna go about 2.5 feet on my leader. Now I'm running 15-pound fluorocarbon. Some people like to use fancy lines, and if that's your thing, go for it, because fancy lines are, some people like them. They don't break as often. But me, I'm running the freaking Berkeley big game. Something simple that's gonna be cheap. I can, buy this and not have to think twice about it, and it's gonna get the job done, and most of these steelhead aren't gonna spook from your line. It's gonna be from another reason, a bad cast, or your bait is too big. So what I'm gonna do is let's take a look at our hook. So here's the hook I'm gonna be using. So this is, I think it's a size 1, but this is an up-eye octopus hook. Now the thing about these hooks is that they will help you get a better hook set when you're more in close range, okay? Once you drive that barb in there, you really want to make sure you're doing that. You really can drive that barb into that fish's mouth, which is why I like to run a little bit of a heavier pound leader. You're not going to lose that fish unless you're horsing it and you break the leader, or something dumb. But if you play that fish on a hook like this and 15-pound leader, there is no reason at all, other than a bad knot or user error, that you should be actually losing this fish. So I'm going to tie up an egg loop knot, just like this. So I'll run the line through the eye of the hook, not going down, but going on the upside, like that. If you can see that. Now I'm going to wrap 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I'll say 6, because it's a bigger hook. I'm going to go in from the back of the up eye, put it in through there, and then I'm going to wrap 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now, this is what you should have, and I use my teeth because I can get more tension, but I'm going to hold that big loop with my 2 fingers, make sure it goes over the top of the hook, and cinch it tight. Now that I've cinched it tight, now if I push up, I have a little egg loop. And that knot is really good. If you break off, it's going to be at your swivel. Okay? So now, what I'm going to do is in terms of colors for these steelhead. Steelhead, I want you to stop thinking of them like they're this big aggressive coho, okay? It's going to chase down, twitch, and jig, and you're going to be able to, they're going to be eating stuff like, this. This is a crappy old jig, but, something big and in their face. That's not always what these fish want. And if you think about it, they're just big rainbow trout going into the river to spawn. So what do they want? They want something small and subtle. Now, a lot of guys will fish in beads like this. That's a big pink bead. You're not going to be able to get as many fish on that. So, what else could you do? What I like to run, and it's probably my favorite color combination, is white and orange. So this is just glowbug yarn. It's probably the best stuff out there for this application. So I'm going to cut... You see how it comes in one big strand like this. So the white, I don't mind having too much, but I'm just going to cut about less than an inch. Just like that. And then I'm going to find a color that I want to use. So if I want to use like a more bright color, like pink and higher water, then yeah, that's what I'll use. But let's say it's really low water, you got picky fish, that's why you're throwing something like this, then you're probably going to want to go with something like orange or red. Orange is a good all-around color. If you want to fish in high water, you can fish it with confidence. Low water, you can fish it with confidence. It's going to catch fish. But here is some red. It's not something that a lot of people use anymore, but, people like to fish black, red, and white nightmare jigs, so might as well try it with a Yarnie. So I'm going to split it in half with my colors. So my ratio, I like to do like one whole strand of white, not cut in half at all, but then half a strand of the color I choose. So that way I get a good ratio, because you want the white to tone down your color to make it look like a modeled natural color. And then I'll put it on the yarn like that, and then I'll kind of pull the white out like this, just gently, you're not picking at it or anything, and then we're going to wrap it all the way around. Now, you have a little Yarnie. So we're going to go and grab our hook, and we're going to push that up like that. And then we're going to take our yarn, stick it in there, just put it in the loop, and you want it to be about in half, and just like that. Got a little bit of yarn. Now, that will catch fish just fine. They have the brain the size of a pea. It's not that deep. But what I like to do, just because I think it gives you a more natural look, is I'll take it and kind of pinch it like this, take my scissors. It helps to have a good scissors at the river, because it's really hard to cut these tiny little strands. But I'll just shape it until it looks like that. So now you've got a little Yarnie with a leader, and that's everything you need, really. And now I'm going to run this with a pencil lid setup. So I'll have my snap swivel connected to my main line, which is braid, and I like braid because it gives you more sensitivity. And if you do get hung up, you're not losing ton of gear in the water, losing all this mono or fluoro in the water. You're just losing a little bit of you might probably not going to lose braid. It's going to break at the knot. And here are the swivels I like to use. Cheap. I like to go cheap because you're going to lose gear. And so if you see on a snap swivel, some people use 3-ways and those work just as good. But what I'll do is I'll tie my braided onto the side I'm pinching right there. So my braided will be on the snap side, and then I'll put my weight onto the snap, and then I'll tie my leader from here on out, and then that's your whole setup. And that's all you need to go and catch these fish. So Yarnies, old school, but it still works really well. And if you want to try doing something that everyone else isn't doing, you will easily catch fish behind people. I've had so many times this year where people are throwing bobbers and beads right out in front of me, and I walk in, I hadn't been there at all. I make 2 casts to a fish, and boom, and they're like, what the heck, dude? But a lot of the times, especially in small streams, what's happening is those bobbers are just moving fish away, and it's not always the best opportunity to catch fish. There's a lot better options that you have. So try that out. Let me know how that works for you, and there you go.